6 journalists have been killed.
The use of gun is the only way of democracy.
There have been several that have been arrested and held for months, if not years on end.
There was gunshot around everywhere in Juba. So people were just running for their safety. And people have been killed, shot dead in the street.
These are the stories that sometimes the authorities may not like them to be broadcast or to be put on the newspaper. And also the current ongoing war has also been another issue whereby that if you are covering a story that brings the opposition or the people who are fighting the government, and you broadcast within the area the government doesn't like, the government doesn't want other opposition.
There have been several that have been arrested and held for months, if not years on end, with basically impunity, because any kind of reporting that you're doing, whether international or local, is the knowledge that you could be brought in for questioning, that you could be arrested, that people are watching you, and that certainly has an impact on the work that you're able to do and the information you're able to access.
So you don't need to be a president. So long you have your money, so long you are rich, so why do you need to be a president? Look at it now. Look at it. I'm in presidential suit. I'm not a president. So how am I doing? Look here. It's my TV presidential suit.
I spent about 2 years in South Sudan. Most of that time I was the bureau chief for Voice of America. We had a daily program there. And I would say that before the fighting started in 2013, there was some flexibility in terms of media coverage, the usual bureaucracy that you run into in dealing with the government. But after the fighting started, it became increasingly difficult to do interviews, and there was definitely more of a security presence. People paying attention to what you were doing and bringing you in for questioning if you ever kind of crossed a line that they established but that you weren't sure about.
The media environment in South Sudan is really challenging, and really there's really a need that to allow the media to give information to people, so that because when people are given enough information, they will be able to make their own opinion. They could be able to take right decision rather than trying to make sure that to have a one-sided story, because when you run one-sided story, it doesn't allow people to make an informed decision. And I think that's where a big challenge. And
South Sudanese journalists, they have been executed so many times by the government. They have been under pressure from the government. And as I speak to you also, South Sudan now is becoming very bad record, because already we have lost around 9 journalists in South Sudan. In 2015 alone, we have lost around 6 journalists. And they were killed because they were doing their work. They were trying also to inform the public of what had been happening in the country, which is not the case. The government is not happy about it.
If you restrict access to information, especially for radio journalists, then it means a lot of people outside of the major city, Juba, don't know what's happening. And important information like outbreaks of cholera or new appointments to government, or even after the fighting started, where the fighting was and who was being injured. So it can have very severe consequences for people's lives.
I was detained by the SPLA It's not a civilian who were detaining me. In fact, these are the national security agencies, and they dress up they dress up in uniform, and also they have the fatigue of the SPLA in their uniform. That is the evidence that these are part of the SPLA, which is under the government. So no one can deny that.
The ruling party, which is the SPLM, is not allowing freedom. It doesn't allow any different views to challenge their activities or the way how they are running a country. Because if you are not challenged, so you don't make any, you cannot be able to provide services.
If the leadership is actually committed to improving democracy, inculcating democracy in South Sudan, then that the media has a critical role to play in that process, and the government needs to recognize that. The government needs to engage with the media. The government needs to provide information and allow journalists to do their work. And until that happens, then you're not going to have a functioning democracy.